PATC rendition. John Denver, Nico Amaliva on a jet plane. All my bags are packed, I'm ready to go. I'm standing here outside your door. I hate to wake you up to say goodbye, but the dawn is breaking, it's early morn. The taxi's waiting, he's blowing his horn. Already I'm so lonesome I couldn't die. So kiss me and smile for me. Tell me that you'll wait for me. Hold me like you'll never let me go. Nico, I'm a leaver on a jet plane. Don't know when I'll be back again. Oh, baby, I hate to go. There's so many times I've let you down so many times. I've played around. I'll tell you now, they don't mean a thing. Every place I go, I'll think of you. Every song I sing, I'll sing for you. When I come back, I'll bring your national title ring. So kiss me and smile for me. Tell me that you'll wait for me. Hold me like you'll never let me go. Nico, I'm a leaver on a jet plane. Don't know when I'll be back again. Oh, babe, I hate to go. All right, there it is. There it is. I promised the little general. John Denver leaving on a jet plane. The very first time that she went to Mexico after we were married, we played that song right before she left, and she fell in love with that song. So I told her that Nico, I'm a leaver kind of works. So we decided to do that today, starting a lot. I'm sorry, I did not give you a warning to hit the mute button. I apologize. I did not give you a warning to get the dogs out of the room. I'm sorry, I did not give you the warning for yourself to get out of the room. But that's the way it goes. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything. And I mean everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do us well, please hit the subscribe button. Smash the like button if you like our content. Absent the singing. If you like our content, absent the singing, please smash the like button. If you want, please share the video with your family and friends. If you want to support this college football rebel outpost, if you want to support this home of the college football sickles with a donation to help us keep the lights on, hit that dollar sign where you make a comment, and we'll get to your super chat as quick as we possibly can. Welcome everybody, and I mean everybody, even those evil Badgers, even those evil Hawkeyes. Everybody is welcome into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls later in the show. We've got a stacked show today. We have got ourselves a stacked show today. Keep your head on a swivel. I still don't know where Nico, I have no idea where Nico Amaliva on a jet plane. I do not know where he's going to end up. I have no, I've been poking and I've got nothing. Let me know what you are hearing. Because everything I've heard, there's no credibility. I have no idea. So let me know. Keep your head on a swivel. Plot twist. Maybe, possibly, could be. We are going to get a limited antitrust protection. Possibly. Now, look, we don't know. It may not be at the 5-yard line. It may not be at the 20-yard line. Hell, it may be at the other, that your own 5. It may not be anywhere close to getting done. But according to Ross Dellenger's report this morning, it's as close as they've ever been. Now that might be, they still might need a miracle shot. And I know a lot of you are against it. I know a lot of you are against it, and you have great logical reasons and the history to back you up to be against it. But I'm hoping for it. I have come to the sad conclusion, and I came to this conclusion a couple months ago. I think it's the only shot to save what we have. I think it's the only shot to secure the best compensation and opportunities for the grand majority of the student athletes. Not the top 1 or 2%. No, they're going to be hurt a little bit by it. But the swimmer, the gymnastics teams, the softball players, I think this is their only shot to keep what they have currently, an opportunity for a scholarship. Football revenue, yeah, you've been paying the freight. Basketball revenue, you have been paying the freight. These athletic departments' mission is to create as much opportunity for as many student athletes as possible. And it's not NFL light. And again, we're going to get back into it. A lot of people disagree, but I'm going to say this. If you want NFL light, go make it. Nobody is stopping the billionaires. Nobody is stopping private capital. Go build it. Offer labor more compensation than college football. Take away the Underwoods. Take away the Travis Hunters out of high school. Offer them more money. Make it work. Make your money. Get the media apart. Do everything you do it all. And somehow pay all the bills. Nothing's stopping you from doing it. But college football is great because it's college football. The connection, the history, the pageantry, the connection to the community. And going forward, thank God, 50% of the revenue is going to compensation to the players. It's not perfect. It's not even close to perfect. I have major issues with future health, providing health care. I have a lot of issues. But I have not heard any solutions. I do know this. And this is going to get me in trouble. And you all know that there's a reason why this is the most unpopular college football YouTube channel in the country. No strings attached. No strings attached. The agents and the lawyers who benefit, who advocate for the agents, they make their most money. The biggest slice of their cheese comes from the top 1 or 2%. These pay-for-play contracts, they don't want them to go away. They don't give a damn about the swimmer. They don't give a damn about the softball player. They don't give a damn about the scholarships that make it so these student athletes all over the country can get an opportunity to get an education. I'm a capitalist. I am. In fact, I'm for small federal government. But I completely understand that this can never be NFL light. because I'm a capitalist, the billionaires, private capital, go build it. Go build it. I may watch it. Go build this 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old professional league. Do it. Go for it. Nothing is stopping you. Nothing is stopping billionaires from having franchises. Build that franchise. Don't have the kids go to school. Build it. But see, when you build it, you're not going to have, you don't have the mission. You don't have the mission to create opportunities for other people. But these athletic departments, these universities, that is their mission. It's not NFL light. It's not NBA light. And I'm going to be honest. Thank God it ain't. Because the 1-2 percentiles that are going to be most hurt by an antitrust exemption, they're going to be all right. They're going to be okay. And if that makes me look like the evil person, fine. Fine. That's cool as well. I'm already evil. I'm already the evil one out there. Look, I want to say one more thing. What happens on X? What happens? Yeah, I'm just going to limit it to X. What happens there is not the real world. It isn't. People, I'm just going to leave it at that. It isn't, it doesn't represent, and neither does the show, neither does me. We don't represent everything. I got my biasness. You all have yours. We talk about it. We agree. We disagree. X is the same thing. Message boards, of course, where they're located, what university they're connected to. They have their biasness. Just keep that in mind. Okay, we've got a stacked show today. We're going to be talking about the possibility of an antitrust exemption. Could it happen? Could it happen? There's also this rumor out there, produced on I believe a Utah message board, saying that Utah to the Big Ten is going to happen. Not only is it going to happen, but we're going to know more about it within the next month. My DMs were bombarded with this rumor. It was well written on a YouTube, I believe it's a YouTube message board. Well written. But I'm gonna go ahead and give you my opinion on it. First of all, I don't think it's happening for many reasons. There's one part of that rumor, that well-written dialogue that the person was having with the rest of the Utah mess. There was one part of it that kind of fell apart. And we're going to explain that here at Peek Around the Corner. There's one part of that I have a lot of experience on, and it doesn't not ring true. But again, we at Peek Around the Corner, we are not infallible. We could be wrong. This guy could be, or this lady, whoever it is, could be onto something, or could be on something. I do not know. But I'm only going to give you our perspective here at Peek Around the Corner. We do not believe the Utah to the Big Ten rumors at this time. We do not believe it. We do not think it's accurate. Let's put it that way. Okay, so let's get to it. Let's do a roll call. We got a lot to get to. We're having some fun early. Charlie Atwood, we are still Austin. Go Utes. AMAC is in the house. Chief Fan is in the house. Kenneth Stromness is here. Penn State. Bob Swanger. Chief Fan. West Virginia has passed an NIL protection bill. Well, from my perspective, and no shot against the state of West Virginia. No shot against West Virginia Mountaineers. No shot against Marshall. I hope it all gets superseded by federal legislation. Coy is in the house. Doug watches. Doug watches Iowa State. Thanks for coming on in. Stephen Vitt, Mac, Conference Champions, Ohio Bobcat. Mr. Bobcat is in the house. Day One Rob, San Diego State. Or is that South Dakota State? Is that the South Dakota State Jackrabbits? OP is in the house. Damn, I just sat down and boom, the Godfather. Opie, thanks for coming on in. I appreciate it. For those who are coming in late, you missed me singing John Denver. Anthony Carlson is in the house. Daniel Gygax. Dave B. All good. 720. Gerald McKinley is in the house. McKinley, that's my bad. I apologize. I should have given a warning. AMAC is in. Ryan Willie. How many cats ran for cover? Kenneth Stromness, my wife calls you the singer because the handful of times she has watched the channel with me for a minute, you are always singing. Well, I haven't sang for a long time. I've been battling these colds like one right after the other. I had just gotten over my last cold, and Mireya comes home from Mexico City, Veracruz as well. She comes home with a bad cold, and she gave it to me. So there's been a couple of times where I said, you know what? This song matches this college football storyline. Wait a second, I can't sing. I got this horrible cold, so I keep putting it off. So today I can sing a little bit, so we did it. I have to replace all my windows. Another Lee's in the house. Jeez. John Dry is here. Stephen McNeely has made it. Friends Call Me Sean is in the house. Ryan Willie is here. I'm going to get to the super chats in a moment in the membership. I do appreciate everybody for that. I will get to as fast as I can. Christopher Shannon. Your singing does something to me every time. Hopefully you're not in too much pain. Larry the GM, to be clear, I do not hate this settlement. I think it's illegal as hell. Well, if it's... The Big Lubbock is in the house. Laura Weiss is here. I'm all for small government too, but you know what? Let's just say it right now. Let's say what is on everybody's mind. The fat guy from Minnesota has to take the L. Because the fat guy from Minnesota is being a massive hypocrite. Guilty as charged. I'm guilty. I am guilty. No question about it. While Queen Morales is in the house. Who else is here? The Amazing Blue. What's up, Greg? All In Tiger fan is here. Charisse Armistead, go Buckeyes, baby. They look pretty good. We did a watch party. We did a Buckeye watch party. Holy smokes. Mylan Graham, the wide receiver, number 5. Him on one side, Jeremiah Smith in the other. When the Gophers play the Buckeyes on October 4th, that might be a good day for me to hit the bar. That might be a good day for me to order some drinks, some gin and tonics to numb the pain. October 4th, instead of doing a watch party where my heart gets carved out with a dull Buckeye spoon, that might be the day I have to visit the bars. Jeremiah Smith on one side, that Graham on the other, C.J. Donaldson. What the hell was that? We did a watch party yesterday. I saw number 12 in the backfield. He makes a good long gain. He makes another, and it says Donaldson on the back of his jersey. And if you saw me, I hesitated. I said, that's CJ Donaldson. And I'm like, and I said something like, why? He has slimmed down. Like, he's small. Coos Corner, West Virginia Mountaineer, great YouTube channel on X. He told me afterwards that CJ Donaldson lost 18 pounds. He looks so much smaller, and he looked pretty fast. If he keeps the physicality like he had at West Virginia, and he gains a little bit more juice, I don't know. I'm gonna have to hit the bar on October 4th. I might have to close down the studio. I may not be able to enter into the studio the way the Buckeyes look. Okay, who else is here? MH Artho 12 is in the house. Skaven, yes, Nebraska Cornhusker, Mountaineer memes. Dogs and Doves is here. Mothprof. Morris Simmons. Gold Nose 2027. He's got a date out there. He's got a date, Morris Simmons. Okay. Let's get to it. I got to get to the super chats. People are being so generous on a Sunday. Holy smokes. Stormy Cyclone Palm Sunday contribution. I got it. Thank you, Stormy. I appreciate it. I appreciate your generosity. I appreciate your comment as well. It is Palm Sunday. It is Palm Sunday. I don't want to get into it too much, but it is when Jesus entered a certain location. Thank you, Stormy. Appreciate it so very much. Ryan Willie, early peak Cloak and Dagger member for 16 months. The Evil Badger, who's the nicest evil badger on the planet. Wow. Thank you so much. You are hereby officially notified Cloak and Dagger. Thank you, Ryan Willie. Appreciate it. I disagree with Numbskull News on whether Notre Dame would make money with a schedule agreement with the Big 12. Notre Dame has lost money with the ACC. I disagree with Numbskull News on that. Yeah, I do. I don't think, how do I say it? I don't think Notre Dame would enter into a scheduling agreement with the Big 12. I happen not to believe that is going to happen. Some people disagree. It would be great news for the Big 12. You just look at the Big 12 markets. They are not Notre Dame markets. I just don't see it happening. I don't, but the Notre Dame losing money with the ACC, they've done okay. They've done okay, actually. The scheduling agreement has provided Notre Dame with enough revenue. NBC likes it enough. Notre Dame has been able to get more other out-of-conference games. USC, schools with the SEC, other Big Ten schools. Notre Dame's schedules have been good enough. They just got it. They just re-upped with NBC now. The point of all this is if, and I think it's going to happen, when Florida State and Clemson get to where they need to get to, when North Carolina, and I believe Virginia is going to be there with North Carolina, when they all take off, when the ACC is gutted, and I think it will be, just like I thought the Pac-12 would be, I haven't gotten a good answer from anybody yet. How does Notre Dame fulfill the obligations to the broadcast partner, NBC, with a home schedule that can satisfy the money that NBC's given them. Remember, Notre Dame has to have enough Tier 1 content, what NBC considers Tier 1 contract, Tier 1 money, Tier 1 content, for Notre Dame to be able to keep up with in regards to payments, in regards to resources. It's why Notre Dame was so very happy to sign this latest scheduling agreement during the ACC settlement, where they would play Clemson every year, Florida State twice every 3 years, Miami twice every 3 years, because that fulfills the NBC obligations. But if those schools are going to a 9-conference game SEC, if Miami or others are going to a 9-conference game Big Ten, and if the Big Ten and the SEC are playing each other, Florida State is not going to be lining up to play Notre Dame. Clemson's not going to be lining up to play Notre Dame. Miami's not going to be lining up to play Notre Dame. Florida State's going to be playing Bama, Georgia, Auburn, Tennessee, Oklahoma. And then Florida State's going to have a crossover with the Big Ten team. 10 Power 10 P2 games every year. They're not going to be lining up to play Notre Dame. Maybe once in a while. Notre Dame's ability to schedule their home schedule is going to be almost impossible. And don't take my word for it. Fat guy from Minnesota knows nothing. Listen to what Bavakwa, the athletic director of Notre Dame, said 10 months ago. He gave the warning. He said, what if Florida State and Clemson, if they leave, it's just, it's already getting harder and harder. Well, nobody has provided me an answer. How does Notre Dame fulfill its contractual obligations to their broadcast partner, NBC, if their ACC scheduling agreement goes away? And the reason why it would go away is because Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina, most likely Virginia, most likely Miami, finds another home. How in the hell does Notre Dame fulfill its obligations? How? Nobody has given me that answer. Not just on X, not just in this YouTube channel, but everybody that I talk to off record, on record, but off the camera. Not a one. They're all saying the same thing. All of them. Notre Dame, man. I mean, again, I know people are taking shit. Go, Greg, here we go again. The walls are closing in on Notre Dame. Okay, find me an answer. Find me an answer. That's all I'm asking. Give me an answer. How does Notre Dame fulfill its obligations? Without Florida State, Clemson, without those major ACC brands that carry most of the ACC value, how does Notre Dame fulfill their obligations? Thus far, I have received crickets. Somebody, somewhere, give me an answer. Thank you, Ryan Willie. I appreciate it. Notre Dame quit playing Michigan because they wanted an easier schedule to make the college football playoffs. Thank you, Ryan Willie, for the super chat. I appreciate it so very much. Opie comes in with a major super chat. Holy smokes. Wow. Thank you, Opie. Unbelievable generosity. Does anyone know whether that deal between Notre Dame, Clemson, Florida State carry over to 2029, even when Clemson and Florida State go to the new conference? No way does it. No. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That deals with the ACC. Florida State and Clemson are the momentarily beneficiary of that because it helps them with that viewership numbers and all that stuff. But no, that's with the ACC. If the Seminoles become SEC, I know Opie is a Seminole, and I get where he's saying. I get the question, and I appreciate the super chat. I find it interesting that most people are Clemson and Florida State got a massive victory. I mean, I don't know. And by the way, I already took the L on it. I thought it'd be $200 to $240 million at the very end of it all. But I didn't think it was going to happen this soon. That's the major victory. It's 165 this year. It's 147 next year. It's 120. All that is way below what I thought and anybody that I talked to. This is a massive victory. First of all, we got to just say that. Second of all, Florida State and Clemson are doing all they can. And so North Carolina, I mean, they're all working it. Right now, they're all working it. They're all working it. I have my doubts that it can happen this year because there's so many governance stuff going on that Sankey and Petiti and Phillips, there's so many issues going on right now. I don't think they want to provide any more instability in this. They're going to Congress, all four commissioners. They're trying to get a carve out. They're trying to get antitrust exemption. The last thing, I don't think it's going to happen this year. But when it does happen, I think it's going to finally click that if the Seminoles are SEC, they're SEC. The value of everything at Florida State goes up. If Clemson becomes SEC, they're SEC. And everything at Clemson is associated with their in-stadium sponsorship, their signage, hell, their radio show, everything goes up. Their media payouts go up. Their exposure goes up. The SEC network being a part of that and everything goes up. I think they wouldn't even be thinking about Notre Dame anymore. As big of a as valuable, as huge a monster Notre Dame is, and they are top 3. You go into the SEC, you've got, so I think I don't see any possibility. I mean, even let's put it in the context here. USC, it's not just me saying this. It's all the Republic reports out in Southern California. It is USC and Notre Dame have had this relationship for decades. Notre Dame has been a national brand. They wanted to play nationally. They got a huge fan base out in Southern California, in Los Angeles. It only benefited Notre Dame to play South USC every year, and it benefited USC. But because USC is Big Ten and they got all these monster games and this monster exposure, and the benefit of playing Notre Dame from USC standpoint keeps dropping. That's the reality. So they're saying, well, we'll play Notre Dame once in a while, but not every year, not anymore. With that relationship, decade after decade after decade relationship between USC and Notre Dame, what do you think about Notre Dame and Clemson, Notre Dame and Florida State? Florida State and Clemson are going to say adios, amigos, amiga, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. Opie, thank you for the huge super chat. I strongly suggest that that's not a carryover. Clemson and Florida State are going to have enough big games. That's just my strongly held opinion. And I think it's probably fact. Thank you, Opie. Appreciate it. Opie, you should hit anything before, during, and after the Buckeyes game. I've given Moen, I've given him a few elbows here lately because this is the only time a Gopher can give a Buckeye an elbow. This is the only time. We can't do it during the season. We can't do it during the Big Ten championship game because the Gophers are never there. We definitely can't do it in the playoffs. So this is the only time I can give a Buckeye an elbow. But then I watched that, we did a watch party in the spring game, and I'm already turtling up. I'm already going in a fetal position. I'm already curling up. So October 4th, I'm gonna have to either go into the liquor cabinet or go to the bars to survive. Okay. Well, Saiyan was really good. I would say that. Saiyan was really, really, really good yesterday. Really good. Mr. Monkey says the Pac and ACC falling apart may be great for the Big 12, but I'm beginning to think it also freezes Kansas and some others out of the P2. The ACC falling apart this early, and when it happened, I said it. This is not, other schools like a Kansas. This did not play into their hand. This massive victory this early for Clemson and Florida State did not help other programs outside of the ACC to try to get to the P2. Okay, let's get to it, guys. I appreciate everybody coming on in. We're already 40 minutes in. I sang John Denver's Leaving on Nico. I'm a Leava on an airplane at the beginning of the live show. And we haven't even touched upon the biggest stories. Let's hit Davis. Rece Davis to stay with ESPN after being heavily pursued by Fox Sports and Drew Machard. Rece Davis was pursued, but he's a staying. College football pregame battle between ESPN's iconic College Game Day and Fox Sports upstart Big Noon Kickoff preview has mirrored the intensity of the on-field rivalries over the last couple of years. This has led to recruiting battles between the two networks, with the latest surrounding College Game Day longtime host Rece Davis. The show's competition has intensified over the past few seasons. Before last year, both networks had an interest in Nick Saban, but Saban went with ESPN, and in combination with Pat McAfee energies at the on-campus events, it improved the show. The program also features Kirk Herbstreit and Desmond Howard. Davis also hosts the college basketball version of Game Day and calls football and basketball for ESPN. Rece Davis staying at ESPN, continuing to do college Game Day football for ESPN. Big Fox, Big Noon on Fox. That show is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. The ratings show it. But I do understand why Fox Sports went big game hunting. Because I think they need somebody. I think they need that major piece. I think they need a Rece Davis or somebody like that. And they're missing that right now. So I don't blame Fox Sports for going big game hunting. They missed out on Rece Davis. If you have a name that you want to throw out there and who Fox Sports should go after, put it in the comment section or later in a phone call. Let me know. Who should Fox Sports go big game hunting next to be the major host, the major face of Big Noon Fox Kickoff? Let me know. Rob Stone, he's okay, but he ain't it. Okay, now for the big story on our live show, Sunday, April 13th. Again, the title screen. Warning, plot twist ahead. Limited antitrust protection may happen. Could it? College football transfer portal. After we go through this article, there is a link in the description box below the video. You can read the whole article. We don't go through the whole article. We go through a lot of it, but not the whole thing. If you want to read the whole article, there's a link in the description box. After we go through it all, I'm going to give you my opinion, and then we're going to go straight to your phone calls. You can talk about anything in college football that your heart desires. College football transfer portal, house settlement, and more. With the NCAA sports on brink of massive change, here's how it all fits together. Ross Dellenger, Washington, D.C., a pillared Goliath along Constitution Avenue. The Andrew W. Mellon Auditorium stands as one of the capital city's most iconic buildings, roughly a half mile from the Washington Monument, and with a bird's eye view of the U.S. Capitol. The 90-year-old auditorium has hosted some of the nation's most defining and historic events. This is where dignitaries established NATO in 1949, where President Bill Clinton signed the North American Free Trade Agreement, and where the 9/11 Commission released its findings on Wednesday evening. The Mellon Auditorium hosted something else. A gathering of university presidents, college athletic directors, coaches, congressional staff members, as part of the latest lobbying effort from the power conferences for a federal college sports bill. Within this gaudy setting, around the fully stocked bar and among the distributed over doors of some of the most powerful people in college sports, shared one another an exasperated message. What the hell do we do now? In a pivotal year for college athletics, perhaps it is the seminal moment. Over the next few weeks, the industry's future rests on decisions from a 75-year-old retiring federal judge to approve the landmark House settlement, a divided congressional membership to produce federal legislation in its own schools too, for a lack of a better phrase, behave themselves during the opening of the upcoming football transfer portal. Good luck with that. We are going to be covering the football transfer portal like a glove here at PATC. So keep us in mind. It's going to be dramatic. It's going to be explosive. What could go wrong? It will be a real bleep storm, quipped one Power League athletic director. The judge's delay in approving this settlement has paved the way for a potential spending spree in football once the 10-day portal opens on a Wednesday this week. Without an approval, and I don't think we're going to get one before the 16th. Without an approval, another uncapped portal cycle may produce more than $50 million in compensation to players, estimates one athletic director. Already there are signs of an impending cash grab as quarterback Nico Amaliva on a jet plane has decided to enter the portal after a contract dispute with Tennessee. It may also impact the bipartisan agreement from 5 U.S. senators. College stakeholders learned of the intense negotiations during last week's summit to D.C., a significant development, but one with remaining impediments to a deal. The settlement. On Monday, the defendants in the House settlement, NCAA and Power Conferences, and the plaintiffs, attorneys for athletes suing over compensation, plan to file briefs. Plaintiff lawyer Jeffrey Kelser told Yahoo Sports this weekend. The briefs will address issues raised by the California judge Claudia Wilken, the woman presiding over the case who is charged with approving or disapproving of the settlement. College executives are not expected to make changes to a portion of the settlement agreement, roster limits, that Wilkins suggested be changed. Those with knowledge told Yahoo Sports. During a hearing in California on Monday, Wilkins recommended college leaders phase in roster limits or grandfather in those already on existing rosters. However, this is PATC money shot number 1. Not the biggest one of the article, but the first one of the article. However, such actions are not expected from the defendants. They will instead offer a deeper explanation for the new roster limitations, a concept that has been perhaps the most widely criticized piece of their agreement. Wilkins' other settlement-related recommendations are expected to be made, including her concern over future athletes' inclusion in the 10-year settlement's injunctive class. Athletes, even those currently not in college, are automatically part of the class, which releases any future legal claims that they might have. A brief is expected to slightly amend language so that future athletes remain in the class, but their claims are not released until they have the opportunity to object in California's Northern District, where the case resides. Kessler declined to address specifics of the case when asked if not changing roster limits would have an adverse impact on the judge's decisions. He still expressed optimism in the settlement eventually being approved, gesturing to the pure numbers. Nearly 400,000 class members, more than 88,000 back pay claims made, in just 600 combined opt-outs and objections. During Monday's hearing, Wilken herself described it as a good settlement. Here we go. Congressional involvement. Remember, the commissioner said this House settlement, it needs to be codified for it to work. Congressional involvement. During their 2-day lobbying effort on the Hill this week, college administrators met with their corresponding state lawmakers, but the Power Conference commissioners met with those closest to the issue. 5 U.S. senators had met several times over the last 6 weeks. Okay, let's focus on that. 5 U.S. senators: Cruz, Moran, Booker, Coons, and Blumenthal. 5 U.S. senators had met several times just within the last 6 weeks in serious negotiations over drafting a federal bill to regulate college sports compensation. Essential to any advancement of a bill is Cruz, the chair of the Senate Commerce Committee, the body that mostly controls college sports legislation, and Booker, a former Stanford football player and a leading voice among Democrats in the Senate. Discussions between Cruz and Booker reignited in March after stalling last spring. However, hurdles remain unresolved in a bipartisan agreement, according to legislative staff members and college administrators briefed on the discussion. A framework of a bill is expected to include three main concepts. PAT money shot number 2 of the article. Number 1, a limited antitrust protection. That in part codifies the House settlement to allow the NCAA and the power conferences to enforce eligibility and transfer rules, as well as rules around the new revenue sharing structure. Number 2, a clause deeming athletes as students and not employees, with a possible sunset on that provision after a set number of years. And I think that might be the result of the latest renegotiations, right? They get a few more members of the Senate on board. They make sure they can get enough bipartisan support. I think they threw in that students, not employees, but there is a sunset provision after a few number of years. Number 3, a preemption of existing NIL state laws, many of which contradict the settlement and or NCAA rules. PATC money shot number 3 of the article, and it is the big one. It is the big one. They're as close as they've been, said one person with knowledge of the discussions. But they've been close before. But they are closer now than ever before. They're as close as they've been to getting this done. Plot twist. If this happens, if the House settlement gets codified by this bill, dramatic changes in college athletics. During a question and answer segment at Wednesday night's reception in the auditorium, commissioners spoke against athlete employment and in support of federal legislation. Greg Sankey, commissioner of the SEC, told the crowd that leaders must keep pushing for a federal bill. The settlement needs to be codified, Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark said. I'm optimistic we can get there. Everyone knows there's a sense of urgency. In the meantime, the White House has not publicly taken a stance on the issue. However, President Donald Trump is aware of the situation and has spoken to multiple college sports stakeholders about college sports legislation. Multiple college and congressional officials tell Yahoo Sports. He wants to help, says one who spoke directly to Trump. He wants to help save college sports. The college football transfer portal, we're going to stop right here. We've gone through this many times before. Let's just say it's going to be explosive. It starts this Wednesday. A lot of schools, a lot of NIL collectives are going to be front-loading their payments to get it all done before the Deloitte Clearinghouse takes effect on July 1st. We're going to be talking more about this as we go on. Holy smokes. Okay, and before we get to your phone calls, I want to go through this rumor real quick. A lot of people have been DMing me about this rumor Utah to the Big Ten. And I want to go through it, and I want to try to explain something here. Give me a moment. We're going to go through this, and then we're going to get to your phone calls as quick as I possibly can. Just give me a moment, everybody. Okay, that did not work. That did not work. Holy smokes. Okay, we got an issue. We got an issue. We got an issue. Hold on. Let me see if I can clean this up real quick. I think I know what the problem is. Hold on. There was a rumor, a report, somebody on a Utah message board wrote a pretty long couple paragraphs giving details of a source telling this person that we are going to hear more in the next month about Utah to the Big Ten. Here it's, let's go through this real quick. Okay, here it is, right here. Somebody called Ute for Life, Ute Zone, Utah to the Big Ten is a done deal. Now, the reason why I'm going to go through this, number one, I got a lot of DMs on X asking me about this. So I read it. And I got a feeling I'm going to get more DMs on this. So I'm going to explain to you my thinking when I read this. Okay? The gentleman is posting all this from a burner account for obvious reasons. I don't expect anyone to believe me. I don't blame anyone here for being skeptical. But after a conversation this past weekend with someone who's plugged in at the administrative level, not athletic department, but higher up, I feel confident enough to say what I've heard. It's a massive shocker. And I couldn't believe it when I first heard it. Again, this was posted on Message Board Genius's X account. So I'm posting it here on the YouTube channel. I've gotten a lot of DMs on it. Okay? We're going to continue. So basically what I've been told is Utah's recent integration into the Big 12 has been more strained than publicly acknowledged. Several ADs and university presidents, particularly from older Big 12 schools, have clashed with Utah reps in media rights discussions and scheduling logistics. There is a philosophical divide on everything from NIL approach scheduling. The source described Utah's leadership as very Pac-12 in how they operate, more academic-centric, which hasn't exactly meshed well with the Big 12's more traditional Southern-heavy base. Add that to some lingering resentment over comments made by Utah figures post-Pac-12 breakup, and the vibe has been tense. Now, here is the part of the conversation that made me almost bleep my pants. In the coming month, Utah to the Big Ten is all but a done deal. The formal invite hasn't been issued yet, but based on what has relayed to me, Utah has quietly cleared a number of internal hurdles required for the Big Ten admission, including compliance audits, Title IX review alignment, and an academic certification process coordinated with the Association of American Universities. This is apparently standard for Big Ten evaluation now. Some things I was told. Fox and NBC have given the Big Ten and Utah the green light on this, particularly Fox, which sees Salt Lake City as an under-leveraged media market with high engagement and viewership consistency. A preliminary media market analysis reportedly had Utah ranked higher in engagement per capita than several existing Big Ten schools, including Maryland and Rutgers. An unpublicized visit from two Big Ten officials took place the first week of March, allegedly under the guise of a conference sports medicine symposium. Utah's new indoor facility was a checklist item for the Big Ten's facilities parity model. I can't say more without risk outing someone, but you've been following the tea leaves, flight tracking, the administrative hires, academic conference affiliations, quietly shifting. None of this should be too surprising. Well, as always, take it for what it's worth. I know how this board treats rumors. I'm just the messenger. Go Utes. Listen, guys, I understand the skepticism, but like I said, the behind-the-scenes issues with us and the Big 12 administrator is far worse than what is being portrayed. We've been looking at options since the beginning of us joining the Truck Stop 12, which included looking at options of going independent. I don't know how this deal was able to have been made. I don't know how the Big Ten can have 19 members or who would be member 20. I don't know what a buyout looks like with our current deal. I don't know how many concessions we are giving the Big Ten to join. All I know is what I stated in my post. I stand behind it. I wish I could elaborate more on my source in my relation to them, which would essentially guarantee my credibility, but I can't do that without giving up my source and causing issues for them. Give it a month and come back to this post. I promise it's going to be a party here. Okay, so this was, again, my DMs got slammed with this. People wanted to hear what I had to say. It's well written. Some of that makes sense. I can tell you right off the bat, not happening. Utah, now I am, as you know here at Peek Around the Corner, we give Utah a better than 0% chance of someday being a Big Ten member. We have been told, look, they've been on the list. It's a real good university. They have a real good relationship with USC, highly respected. The intensity of, they do have a better, Utah Utes have a good hold on over their fan base. There is some intensity there. There's a lot there that makes sense. There's a couple things that don't make sense. Yeah, he stands behind it, but it's a burner account. Okay, first of all, I have said a lot of things over 10 years of doing this. And when I put out something, I stand behind it. But you know my name, you know my face, you know my wife, you know everything. But you know about as much as you possibly could know. That's when that is standing behind something. You can protect your sources, but you can make yourself transparent. I have done that. You've got people are putting examples of like genetics. There is nothing transparent about genetics. He doesn't have to stand behind anything. He just throws things out there. He continually gives out disinformation on what this YouTube channel says, and other people. They don't have any accountability. That is a problem. A burner account. You don't need to be a burner account. You do not need to be a burner account. You do not need to have a male model as your avatar. You don't need to do any of that to protect your sources. That's one big problem of this article. Another big problem is he's talking to somebody who's not a part of the athletic department, but much higher. But then he goes into things that a much higher person at Utah wouldn't be talking about, wouldn't know. Here is the biggest problem of what he says. Let me put it back up on the screen. Now he's talking to somebody higher up than the athletic department, the administration, the academic side of things. And in this, he says the formal invite hasn't been issued yet, but based on what was relayed to me, Utah has quietly cleared a number of internal hurdles required by Big Ten admission, including compliant audits. That's true. Title IX review alignment. That's true. An academic certification process coordinated with the Association of American Universities. This is apparently standard for Big Ten evaluation now. That's untrue. That's false. So somebody in higher academic, if this person exists, just gave this person information that can't possibly be true. There is no academic certification process coordinated with the Association of American University when a Big Ten is vetting a candidate. The Big Ten presidents vote on schools, just like any other AAU member, to get an invite to the AAU, which is a private club. The Big Ten is different. Now, the Big Ten, all their schools are AAU but Nebraska. But there are different, they're looking at things. There are schools in the AAU that are AAU, obviously, but they're not Big Ten institutions. They don't have a big enough athletic department, or they don't sponsor enough sports, or they don't, whatever it is, they're not Big Ten institutions. But there are schools that are not AAU that are really close to being Big Ten institutions who would get the invite if there was the correct blend. Look, if Texas and Oklahoma had called Kevin Warren and not Petiti, Oklahoma would be a Big Ten member, then not AAU. If Florida State gets the right blend with Miami, with North Carolina, with Notre Dame, Florida State can become a Big Ten member without being AAU first. Now, we happen not to believe that they're going to be able to get a blend with North Carolina or with Notre Dame. Miami is a possibility, and we don't think the SEC ESPN is going to let that happen. But regardless, there is there's two different metrics, two different standards, two different worlds. Two different worlds. So an academic certification process is coordinated with this. Nah, that's not how it works. Just not how it works. So I just wanted to hit that again. I don't believe that to be true. I think when a month comes around, you're not going to hear anything about Utah to the Big Ten, possibly in the future, but not in the next month. Not when Florida State and Clemson just got massive victories and there's a lot of stuff going on in ACC country, cloak and dagger. But I tell you, in a month, if we hear more about this, if credible reporting, then I'll take the big L here right in front of you all. I would take the big L at Peek Around the Corner. We do not believe that rumor has any credibility. We're going to get to your phone calls right now. Hold on. Whoa. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. Give us a call. Anybody, everybody, give me a call. And look, the floor is yours. Talk about anything in college football that you desire. If you've just joined us, you've missed the beginning of our program. We did a PATC rendition of John Denver, Nico Amaliva on a jet plane. Go check that out. We went through the Ross Dellenger article. Go check that out.
Call from
BJ.
BJ, the floor is yours. Thanks for calling, sir. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you too, Greg. Happy Sunday. And as always, thanks for allowing me to speak on your platform. It's a beautiful Sunday.
Yes, it is.
And this news is I'm always looking forward to your segments. They are entertaining, even if I agree or disagree with them, and they are usually well sourced, which I appreciate it because that's not pretty common in today's world of podcasting or YouTube channeling. So I appreciate you for sourcing your information and giving us your opinion.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the kind words.
With that being said, I'm following the settlement, and it looks to be a cluster, like kind of I suspected from the beginning. It felt rushed to me. It does not feel well thought out, well planned. It's kind of like the tariff stuff, right? Good idea, horrible execution. And I think the biggest issue I see with the settlement is it feels like it's rushed and not every person or group has a say-so or an agreement with what's happening. I think there's misalignment between the executives or the administrators and the coaches and even the school administrators. It just seems like a combobulated mess. And my biggest issue with the settlement from the get-go is the involvement, and it's kind of a catch-22, the involvement with Congress into sports. Whoever thought that was a good idea should be smacked. They are not really good at solving a problem. And for a situation like this that may need a complete restructuring, if we're being honest with ourselves, college sports may need a complete restructuring, right? And not just a Band-Aid and trying to patch things as we see. I think it's pretty common knowledge. I think anybody who kind of looks at it, the easiest way going forward would have these players, these students as employees. But with them being employees, there's a whole nother thing issues that come up. But I think that's the cleanest and clearest way. If they're employees, you kind of jump over the Title IX issue. But I hope we come to a resolution. I don't have much faith in it. I don't think I've heard your kind of position on this, Greg, in terms of where we're going to end.
I think people are. I think people are sick and tired of me talking about my position. To be honest, I think people are kind of up. I think most people are kind of upset with me right now because because I've been pounding it pretty hard on this show and on X especially over the last week. Let me say this, but I know people don't. I mean, people can't watch this show or don't want to watch this show, or they're not following me on X. They've blocked me or muted me a long time ago. So let me say this. I do not. The reason why I'm a big hypocrite about this is because I have completely lost faith on the other side of the issue. Like, I have completely, like, the idea that everyone can now be an employee. I mean, people keep coming out with these plans, but then if you dig any deep into them, holy smokes, they will cause a lot of pain everywhere else. So yes. I've had discuss. Look, like I've said, I'm to the point where you want a football league to be NFL light. If you want them to be employees, if you want to have for them to have a CBA, if you want them to have even a draft, if you want, or if you don't want it, whatever you want to do, the billionaires in this country with private capital, go build it. Go build a professional league of 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds. The problem is other people have tried it and it goes broke. Because the value of many of these 18, 19, 20, 20-year-olds, it isn't there. It just isn't there. So let me answer this. The employment part of this, every single school, including Florida State, every single school, including everybody in the Ivy League, every single school, it doesn't matter where you look. It doesn't matter what region of the country. It doesn't matter what political ideology the university might be or what location they might be. It doesn't matter if they're big or small. It doesn't. They're all against their students to become employees. Now, you might think they're all wrong. Okay, that's fine. But they're not all, they're not all coming from the same direction. They're not all being selfish. They're not all being stupid. They've got a whole bunch of reasons. One of the big reasons is because they don't want a slippery slope into their other students having to become employees. It's gonna cause chaos. So what has happened is they're trying to do all they can not to have their students become employees. If we're just looking at if you do employees, what happens to the swimmer? What happens to the softball player? When you become employees, you've got all this added cost, a lot of added cost. What happens to and if you're a student and you become an employee? And I've asked this question. I asked this question, and there's three lawyers out there on X that often we get into a talk, and all three of them disagreed with each other. But all three of them want all this to be destroyed. Here's the thing. If you become employees, are you still going to be able to restrict the student from leaving that college to go to another college? And then the answer to that is, well, maybe not. So maybe we should separate the athletic department from the university. Not have them be students. But if you do that, then the value of these so-called franchises drop through the floor. There's a problem to all of these supposed answers. That is what I'm getting to. This cannot be treated. Now, this has become my strongest opinion. Whatever is the result of whatever we do, BJ, it can't be NFL light because it's college, it is students, it is Title IX. There are athletes out there that they don't play sports that make revenue. But we don't want them to disappear. We don't want those opportunities, those scholarships to disappear. This is the reason why it's so popular, partly because it is college. It actually elevates the value of most of these players, not all of them. So I would contend that yes, the top 1-2% of these athletes in basketball or football are probably going to get screwed a little bit if this all gets codified, this settlement. But for most of these student athletes, they're going to be getting paid more than they would if a bunch of billionaires go out and try to create a professional league of 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds. 50% of the revenue football created in these athletic departments are going to the student athletes. So it's better than it's ever been before. I wish it could be better, but I'm to the point where let's get this codified. Let's get this done. Put sunset clauses in. Let's take a look 6 years from now. But plus we have a settlement. The it's going to be done here in a couple weeks. If the settlement implodes, then Florida State is on the hook. BYU is on the hook. Minnesota is on the hook. Now for $2.8 billion, it's going to be $20 billion, $25 billion. So the horse, the cow, the pig, the lamb, the sheep, they're all out of the barn. We're already way past this point. Either we save this sucker for the next 6 years or it all explodes. BJ, the floor back to you.
Greg, thank you. That was eloquently spoken, and I agree with many tenets of it, and it's not an easy fix because I think the system went kind of unattended to for so long. Is not an easy fix, and I think if truth serum was poured in Sankey's drink and Petitti's drink, honestly, I think they would just want to break. If they can get the protection that they normally get as under the NCAA, they would break off and form their own league and do their own thing and kind of keep the power structure within their power. Because I think the downside of going semi-pro, the power leaves the commissioner's kind of hands and it goes to billionaires' hands and whoever is running this private organization. But I agree with everything you said that college sports has a nice feel to it that makes it attracts you to it. I think we're losing it, especially with the Nico stuff. I think that, it's getting to a point where something has to change. And I was thinking about this a couple months ago, and maybe, and I'll say this and I'll kind of get off this thing, but I think a solution going forward, this is kind of testy, but schools can hide behind the NCAA, right? They were NCAA programs, right, that ran, football and basketball and all these other things. Even if players want to sue, right, if the NCAA ceased to exist, I'm thinking legally that should eliminate some of the lawsuit and some of the liability from the schools. Because if the schools were operating under the rules of the NCAA and that entity is no longer viable, is no longer an entity, maybe that'll provide some kind of, release of liability from the school standpoint, create another administration or organizational body, and this organizational body would be built for the modern day sport. And that may include parsing out football, right? And making football give a portion of their income or a portion of their funds generated by football has to be given to the other sports, right? And so something that's collectively bargained has to be the answer. And in my opinion, getting away from the NCAA and their organizational and operational structure, forming a new organizational body, in my opinion, is the clearest way going forward that'll meet the needs of most. And it'll probably be 40 schools and not 70 schools or 80 schools currently in P4. But as always, Greg, I greatly appreciate you allowing me to speak my opinions. And you have a blessed Sunday, and I'll go back into the comment section.
You got it. Appreciate it, my man. Thanks for the call. Separating yourself from the NCAA to get away from liabilities, maybe that would have worked a while ago, but not now, because again, when I went.
Call from
Steel Austin.
Steel Austin, can you hold for just one moment, please? I appreciate it. So when I went through with BJ, when I said, every single school in the country does not want their students to become employees of the university, which is true. It's also true that every school in the Power Four Conference, every single one of them, opted in. They signed on the dotted line on this NCAA House settlement. So when this becomes official, if people want to complain, and they're going to complain, and that's fine. It's part of life. That's part of talking college football. You got to start with your university first. If your university player, if their NIL, their pay-to-play deal gets sliced, gets denied by Deloitte Clearinghouse, and you're very upset, you have to start with your school first, because they signed on it. They know that Deloitte is happening. They know that this third-party enforcement arm that is supposedly going to give out big old punishment is happening. They're the ones who are creating it. So whatever complaints you have, you can't start with the NCAA anymore. You can't start with the boogeyman anymore. Start with your own school, because they're all in on this. Why are they all in on this, even though it's not perfect? Because they got to make it work, because if they don't, that $2.8 billion goes to $20 billion. And that is something that every single agent, every single lawyer out there, and some of them are paid advocates, by the way, none of them will talk about that point of it. The horse is out of the barn. Period. The House lawyers are going to monitor everything that is going on for the next 10 years. If they swing it back to the judge, and these Power Four conferences are not handling their business in accordance to the settlement, that $2.8 billion goes away, and it's going to skyrocket. So the billionaire that is signing checks for pay-to-play deals of $3.5 million, is he going to help that university pay the $20 billion, their slice of the $20 billion that they're going to owe? I doubt it. I bet you don't see that billionaire anymore. So again, I have lost hope, complete hope about it. I mean, that's why I'm willing to settle for this non-perfect settlement to get through this, because I don't want my college football world just to be controlled by a few agents and a few lawyers and a pay-to-play scheme that's not NIL, that wouldn't be transferable if the player left from one school to the next. I don't want that to run the whole college world. That is as bad as what we've had for 6 decades, when the owners did not compensate labor enough. I don't want to trade one destruction to another destruction. Steel Austin, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate the airtime. I figured since you devoted some time of your show to this Utah rumor, that I'd add a little bit of clarity.
Got it.
Yeah, I think I was on the board last night when this post came.
Oh, really?
You,
Okay.
yeah. So I tried to clear it up in the chat, but just to let everybody know, I mean, there wasn't one Utah fan that bought that post
Okay.
that was on that fan board. It was a whole string of us, that knew it was silly and even tried to get our mods to get it off to delete the topics, right? Because we knew it was going to end up on Message Board Genius for everybody to see.
And then I picked it up.
So,
Holy smokes. Okay.
So anyway, I mean, we saw right through it. I mean, we definitely, Utah fans, we follow this stuff pretty closely, and
yeah.
we know where we stand. We know where the Big Ten is. They're not looking west right now. They're looking east and southeast, and we get that.
Has that person
But I
posted?
think
Has that person posted before?
No. He created the account that night and jumped on to post that. So. Well, I mean, just to boil it down, I think a lot of people now realize that Utah fans and BYU fans have a very adversarial relationship, to say the least.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Some would even go as far as saying that Utah fans and BYU fans hating each other is an understatement, and I would definitely understand that statement, but. Nevertheless, what's been going on lately is obviously BYU's been getting their big donors to pony up big NIL for men's basketball and bringing in, big recruits and much to the demise of Utah's basketball program, feeling, like they're just, reaching a whole new level with NIL and props to them for doing so. And Utah's really getting left behind in men's basketball as a result. Now, that's changed, but what's been taking place in Twitter and social media is Utah fans, unfortunately, are doing a whole lot of whining and crybaby and making false accusations about BYU using church money for NIL, and that's not the case. We know it's their big donors. Mm-hmm. But, a small faction of Utah's fan base can make us look bad on social media, and that's just unfortunately what's been going on. So when Utah goes on and starts making these false claims, then BYU wants to counter, and so this clever fan came and created a fake account and posed as a Utah fan and put this silly post together that we could see right through. Mm-hmm. Obviously it had some things that sounded all, whoa, maybe, but then there was obvious things that were so wrong with it. So it didn't, nobody bought it. And anyway, I just thought I'd add that. I will say though,
I appreciate you. I appreciate you letting me know. That clears a lot of things up. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I've had a few people comment to me about why are you so against BYU, and I like, I'm not against BYU. I'm not against any billionaire getting involved with the university that they love. There's been boosters. I'm not against. In fact, whatever, all the things that BYU or whatever everybody else is doing is not against any rules right now.
It's not, and
No.
I'm the first to admit it. And quite frankly, Utah's basketball boosters have been sitting on the sidelines for 4 years because they didn't agree with Harlan's hire of Craig Smith, and it's finally taken for the boosters to finally have enough leverage to get Harlan to replace Craig Smith with Alex Jensen, our new coach that was just announced. Mm-hmm. And now they've committed $7.5 million of NIL to men's basketball. So although that might not be at the level BYU is spending on basketball, it will definitely, when that money hasn't been there in the past, that will certainly be enough to help us become competitive quickly.
So most likely starting on July 1st, things are going to change.
Things will change, but I'm talking about pre-July 1st. Because
Huh?
we're building our roster right now. I'm talking about before July 1st.
Yeah. I got it. Yep.
We're turning over the entire roster, Greg, and
Yeah.
starting from scratch. And so we're gonna bring in some headliners to help bolster our roster and give us a competitive team. But I get it. July 1st, everything's going to change, and we don't quite know how it's going to change. But before July 1st, we can spend away, and so we're definitely going to do it. But I think what people don't realize is, back in 2010 when Utah got the invite to the Pac-10, the Pac-12, that was like BYU's worst nightmare. Like it absolutely sent them in a tailspin when Utah left them behind. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know where to go. They decided to go independent as their reaction, and they were lost in independence for 13 years. I mean, it was an absolute nightmare for BYU and their fan base. Now they've hit their pinnacle by finally getting their invite to the Big 12. Their worst nightmare now is if Utah were to do it again and get invited to the Big 10, because they know they're not a candidate to the Big 10. They know they're not a candidate to the SEC. Like the Big 12 is literally the pinnacle for BYU, and they know it, and they just don't want to see Utah. That's where BYU fans are terrified if that might happen. Now, Utah fans know, we know we're not like the strongest, definite shoe into the Big 10, but we also know we're on the list.
Yeah.
And we're a candidate. And, if the Big 10 goes beyond 20, which we believe they will, they're going to look back west. Mm-hmm. And we're one of the few schools that are going to be considered. So, we have a lot going for us. Our leadership has been in constant communication with Big 10 leadership, with Big 10 presidents. We know the things that we need to continue to focus on to get better, and we're doing that. So who knows what the future holds, but, to say Utah's not a good candidate for the Big 10 is not true. And I know you're not saying that, but some people think that that's outrageous, but it's not. We know where we stand, but we've got a ways to go. So
well, I appreciate the phone call. You helped me out with that. I appreciate it. Gave us some background to that burner account report from the Ute message board. So I appreciate it, Mr. Austin.
Yeah, you got it. Glad to clear it up.
You got it.
Have a good one, Greg.
Yep, appreciate the call.
All right, man. Yep, see ya.
Great call by Steele Austin. Helmer Henderson, Michigan Wolverines, Super Chat. Would the Big Ten insist on equal revenue distribution to Notre Dame? I have no idea. If Notre Dame comes on in because they lose their scheduling agreement with the ACC, they can't make that money up. They can't make up that value to their broadcast partner, which I don't think they will be able to. When they come in, everyone is going to be making more money. According to reports in which Notre Dame was slotted into the current media contract. What happens if Notre Dame is a member? Does everybody still have equal revenue distribution when Notre Dame comes in, or is there going to be some adjustments? There could be. And if there is, Notre Dame is going to be at the highest level, right? With the highest branded schools. But even if there's unequal revenue distribution, it ain't going to be what the ACC is. My answer is I do not know how. Traditionally, everyone would be getting pretty much the same when it came to conference payouts, media payouts. But there might be a little bit different on the conference payouts in the future in the Big Ten. You might be able to eat more of what you kill. And when it comes to the media payouts, there might be a little adjustments on that as well. But overall, I really don't know the answer. Thank you, Super Chat. Thank you for the Super Chat, Homer Henderson. You ask good questions, and I always feel bad that I don't know the answer. But I got to be honest with you. I do not know. Larry, the GM, Utah is not a good candidate for the Big Ten. There, I will say it. Tough Tony. Go for Tony. 20 is plenty. Arnegad, BYU as much as a candidate as anyone else. Michael Smith, if the Big Ten goes full unequal, then all bets are off for traditional Big Ten team. I don't know what full unequal means. There might be a little bit of unequal revenue sharing, but I don't think it's going to be anything drastic. I really don't. I think the next Big Ten contract is probably going to be massive. Okay, let me see. Waiting for any more phone calls. 763-260-1333. Looking at some reports here.
Call from
Wild Ute.
Wild Ute is on the line. The floor is yours. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing excellent. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm getting a lot of arrows shot at me over the last 72 hours, but I'm still alive.
Yeah, with the clearinghouse and now this Utah Big Ten rumor that Steele Austin pointed out was probably a troll. Who knows from where? Maybe the BYU community, maybe elsewhere.
Cloak and dagger, cloak and dagger, cloak and dagger.
I wanted to call in and just talk about this, though, because I don't know who trolled this. I do think it's a troll. Obviously, it's the heart desire of a Ute fan, and it's the biggest nightmare of a BYU fan. Steele pointed that out. He was 100% accurate about everything he said. But really, so what I want to talk about is just the irrational backlash that comes from this kind of stuff that just really stabs old wounds in even further and deeper. And we've had conversations before, Greg, off the channel and stuff, on how bad the relationship is between Utah and the Big 12.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
So it's funny when you read something like this. Obviously, somebody was relatively in the know about some components here that are working.
Yeah, a lot of it was well written. Yes.
And that makes it interesting, right? Like, who would come up with this? Who would know some of this language to use? And they obviously knew the land. But I don't know, so the backlash from the post and everything is exactly kind of what at least Utah fans, the Utah community has been running in the last year, with a lack of integration into the Big 12 conference. Mm-hmm. That's just how it is. It's a lack of integration. There seems to be inconsistent views on how who wants to be what. I don't think, I'm pretty certain actually that Utah is not a supporter of private capital because it doesn't want to commit the long term to the Big 12. Mm-hmm. Just straight up saying it. Utah wants to be in the biggest league. They want to be in the Power 2. There's a Power 2. You make double the money. There's a big boy league and a AAA. Let's just be honest about it. It's just like that. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean a AAA team can't get to the playoff and win a game or two, but you're not in the majors. Utah wants to play in the majors. So does everybody else. That's not unique. I'm being very clear about that. And so this type of troll job does bring up an interesting conversation about really what is the future between the University of Utah and the Big 12 Conference. And I don't know that. There's no other conference to go to that's a better option. The Big Ten isn't likely going to be offering in the next month. Despite the hopes and desires of Ute fans. But really, where does this relationship between Big 12 and University of Utah go in the next 5 years? When that 2030 time hits, I mean, it's almost, I mean, it feels like it's gotten so toxic that, it's almost like Utah doesn't even want the conference to survive and thrive. I don't know if that's just me thinking that, but I'm in these communities enough that it's almost that toxic. Want to blow the sucker up. I'm just being. This is real talk, real honest.
Let's just let me. Do you have time? So I want to get into something here. You and I have talked about it. I've talked about it
Sure.
on your channel. I've talked about it a little bit here.
Sure.
Do you have a few minutes?
Yes, I've got a few minutes.
Okay, let me clear something up here first on my screen. I'm going to get into it. Look, the thing is, I have reasons to believe, and I could end up being wrong. Okay, definitely not infallible. We've gotten a lot of these things right, but we could be wrong. I do think that when the SEC transforms their conference, and they're going to do it again, I think they're going large. Okay, I think they're really going large. But if I'm wrong on that,
Right.
if I am wrong on that, and the people I talk to is wrong on that, or maybe they're right, but maybe they're going to end up being wrong because of other things that are going to be happening in economics. But if the SEC doesn't go big, if they just satisfy their presidents and say, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to take a North Carolina and probably a Virginia. If the SEC scoop into the ACC shallow and not deep, then all bets are off. All bets are off. All bets are off because if that happens, there are going to be at least one property. I mean, there's going to be Florida State and Clemson are not going to be ACC members in 2031, 32, 33, 34. That ain't happening. It ain't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't going to happen. They did not do all of this, win a massive victory, an early massive victory to be in the ACC, a reconformed ACC, whatever it is. They're not going to do it. So if the ACC, if the SEC doesn't do a large scoop, and the Big Ten presidents hold on to this idea of we don't want to go the route of another Nebraska. We need to keep our standards up. Blah blah blah. They're elitists. Whatever you want to put on it. Then there are going to be big brands in the ACC that are going to want to break away. And then it's going to be at the time that some Big 12 brands are going to be released from their Big 12 gore in 2030. And then there is this possibility of a different third power conference where the Florida State breaks away from some ACC schools that don't offer enough value, and the bigger value schools in the Big 12, like Utah, break away from other Big 12 schools. And there you have your third power conference that is going to make more money than the current Big 12 and this ACC conference without North Carolina and another school. So maybe Utah is going to keep their powder dry. I agree with everything you said. It's a well-known fact. It's the chatter behind the curtain. Utah isn't loving it. So maybe Utah keeps their powder dry and sees everyone. Look, it always starts with the biggest domino. and that's the SEC.
Right.
All their advantages over the Big 12. North Carolina, Virginia. But if they need to make that work and bring on Florida State and Clemson, then I think this top brand, Big 12, top brand ACC isn't going to work. But if Florida State and Clemson are not picked up by the SEC, and the Big 10 sits there and says, well, we're going to continue to wait for Notre Dame, then you might have a Florida State, Clemson, a Utah type of beachheads on both sides of the country, and now you create a third national power conference. That might be what Utah, that might be what Utah is looking at a possibility of happening.
Yep.
Yeah. So it starts with the SEC, though. It all starts with the SEC and North Carolina, and then how far you need to, whatever the SEC is going to do.
And I guess the question is this, like, okay, so Florida State and Clemson are gone. And then also Miami's off the table, and you get to like the next round of teams, like your Louisville's, like your Georgia Techs, your Virginia Techs. It's hard to make it. It's hard to make that argument that if forming a third conference would be more advantageous at that time. There's just not enough upside.
I don't
correct.
think so.
Is it?
Not for the headache. I don't think so. So,
because I do wonder, like, as far as like alignment goes, like different type of philosophical alignment. Even a school like Cal Berkeley, like Cal Berkeley, who knows what happens to them when this all shakes out. Even it just seems like there's going to be more like-minded institutions that are available at that time that might cause some kind of fission or fracture, even if it's not really a huge boost in media rights, but maybe better alignment-wise as far as, how you want to run your institution. Because that's one of the biggest things with Utah is that they have had plenty of alignment with the old Pac-12 schools.
Yes, they did.
Schools like KU is very similar to AAU, but there's just a lot of Big 12 schools that just are different in Utah. Like, they want to be different, and Utah wants to be different from them, and like that's okay. But it's just not a good fit.
That is exactly why it's hard to communicate and describe the Big Ten frame of mind. They don't want 30 years down the road, they don't want a university that is so much different than the other schools. That is a big thing for them. They're looking like Nebraska is looking quite different than the other universities. Now, I know they're doing the Omaha and Kearney combination, whatever, but they're starting to look a little different. No, they're not going to get kicked out. No, Nebraska's a big value, whatever. Nebraska's a wonderful university for the state. I'm not taking shots at Nebraska. I'm just telling you that they're sort of the oddball, and Oregon is sort of the oddball. Okay? Big Ten don't want to. They don't really want to be. These presidents don't want to bring in schools that are going to completely look different from all the other schools 30 years from now. You guys did a great show. Moen did a great job on what an average Big Ten university looks like. If you missed it, go to the Big 12 Mafia show. I think it was your last live show, maybe on a Friday night.
It was a Thursday. Thursday.
Look at the average. There's one slide in there that says this is what the average Big Ten university looks like. That is what the Big Ten wants. That is what the Big Ten wants. And so it's same thing with, that's what Utah wants. That's what that's why the Super League ain't going to work. That's why a lot of these things aren't going to work. You want to play with the schools that have the same common goals and missions, and you want to work with them on a few things and blah, 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 blah. And I've said, and I know, I don't know the Utah BYU rivalry like you Cougars and Utes do, but every time I say something positive about Utah, I get hammered. I get absolutely hammered, and vice versa. But I have said over and over again, I said Utah is a school that has these USC favors Utah into the Big Ten. I mean, they really do. Doesn't mean they're going to get there, but you get relationships, you build things together, your faculty switches back and forth. There are things going on behind the scenes. So it's important that these schools want to be with each other. That's why I keep saying, like, people say, great. Ohio State's going to leave the Big Ten and screw you all Big Ten schools. The Buckeyes are going to leave. And they're going to join with Alabama and whatever. And I'm like, probably not. I mean, anything could happen. But probably not, because the Buckeyes want to play with universities that they are in common with. Same thing with Utah. It's just the way it is, and it's hard for us football sickos to grasp it, but that's how it is in the background. Go ahead, Philip. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. So that was like the whole thought. I think that the troll post really unfortunately gets at the heart desire, and really one of the root of the issues here with Utah and Big 12 is just the lack of fit, the really animosity that has been going on before the joining of the conference during the Pac-12, Big 12 battles. It was nasty, and it just hasn't gotten better. And I would have thought that over the last year and stuff, there'd be a little bit more integration, but like, it's just absolutely ridiculous. And so like, you just like feel like you don't belong. We do not belong here.
Yeah.
So that's just the state of it. That's the reality of it. Doesn't mean anything's going to change. It's still the best place at the moment. Utah's not going to go independent and put themselves in a horrible situation. But they're going to keep their powder dry. And if there is a opportunity for even a smidge, a penny more, for more alignment, they're gone.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
100%. So just wanted to call and give my thoughts on that.
You're the greatest, no matter what Mullen says about you. Just remember that.
Take care, Godfather. See you later.
You got it. Appreciate the call. Wow, Jude. Great call by Wild Jude. Appreciate it so very much. Helmer Henderson, Mr. Wolverine. So with Notre Dame, unequal distribution, okay, but many schools in the Big Ten were scared for Florida State for potentially bringing unequal distribution. Well, Notre Dame is in the Big Ten contract. Their name is written in the Big Ten contract. Everyone's boats are going to get lifted by Notre Dame. So if the schools in the Big Ten, if it's, you know, if it helps Notre Dame to finally pull the trigger, and they say, yeah, we'll give you a little bit. Well, Minnesota will give you a little bit of our money. Okay, Notre Dame? All right? We'll give you a couple million. How about that? Purdue, a couple million. Rutgers, a couple. If that is enough to get Notre Dame on board, if we have to give Michigan $1 million, everybody a couple $100,000, whatever, to get Notre Dame. If we have to do that, maybe we do that. Florida State coming in. With that, now a lot of Seminole fans are going to say I'm wrong, but Florida State and Miami coming in without a Notre Dame, they're coming in at half share because Washington and Oregon are half share. Just one of the examples why ESPN and SEC has the advantage on North Carolina and Virginia, and why they have the advantage of bringing, why I think they're their favorite to bring Florida State and Clemson in. I think they're going to check all their boxes, improve the value of everything, and I think they're going to make a big scoop. Just like they made a big scoop with Oregon and Texas together. That was massive. Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina, Virginia, that is massive. So that's why that's why. I hope now I did answer one of your great questions. Helmer Henderson, thank you for the super chat. I do appreciate it so very much. North Carolina will not leave the ACC. North Carolina will leave the ACC in my strongly held opinion. They did not. They have done publicly the Blue Matter, Carolina Blue Matter, spending over $600,000 on conference affiliation matters. That is a big evidence that they're going to do something. North Carolina not voting for conference expansion, having more votes against you when it comes to possible dissolution and other items. North Carolina not voting to expand the conference, more evidence. North Carolina not voting to sue Florida State and Clemson, more evidence. That is all in public. There's a whole lot in private. North Carolina legislators making sure, trying to pass a bill to make sure that North Carolina would still play North Carolina State in football and basketball, men's and women, just in case there's a different conference affiliation between the two universities. Or there's a lot of evidence, chatter behind the curtain. The SEC wants North Carolina. The Big Ten wants North Carolina. I think North Carolina is going to leave. We're going to shut it down here. We've been on the air for over 2 hours. I want to thank everybody for coming on in on a Sunday afternoon. I do appreciate it. I want to thank Stormy Cyclone, Ryan, Willie, Opie, Helmer Hennison. Thank you so much for your super chat, for your generosity, for keeping the lights on here at Peek Around the Corner Studios. I do appreciate it. I appreciate everybody coming on in, your great comments, and your wonderful phone calls. I do appreciate that as well. Again, if you haven't done it yet, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. If you missed it at the beginning of this live show, I had to do a PATC rendition of John Denver, Nico Imaliva on a jet plane. So go check that out if you missed it. And we talked about the Ross Dellenger article. And this week is going to be a very busy week in college football. So buckle up, brace for impact, keep your head on a swivel until next time. From all of us at College Football's Peek Around the Corner to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.